All right, good afternoon. I was starting to work on this SD40-2 that I picked up as part of a lot, and it was just included. I'd never seen it, and I think it was a pretty cool inclusion in everything that I got. When I unpacked it, I was a bit surprised as to how weathered it was. It had come like this. I started working on it already. I'll show you the other side shortly. But when I saw it, I mean, everything was just like this right along here. And I thought, well, that, some parts of it are fantastic. It's an unpowered SD40-2. It's MTH. And I thought, like, well, the trucks, the tank, absolutely fantastic. But in all of the photographs that I've seen, and for what I want to model, which is more along the lines of the 70s and 80s, these would not be anywhere near this dirty. So since I'm learning to weather and want to ramp up my skills in that area, I thought this was a good project, at least to see what was done, and then maybe to take some of it off a bit. And so all I did was I grabbed some rubbing alcohol, cotton swabs, some Q-tips, and you see from this side, what I've been doing is working on this side. And thankfully the person that weathered this used powders basically, and some of it's not set at all. I can go along and touch it, and I get some powder and whatnot on my fingers. So if they sprayed it with hairspray or anything, it wasn't a tremendous amount. It's not tremendously locked in. And what I'm looking to do is pretty much take it back to this right here. So I've done the cab roof, and I'm fairly happy with that. I think that this wouldn't be too far from anything that would be prototypical on the lines. As far if it was a dusty area and whatnot, and most rails are dusty. So I'm looking to take this back, and then what I'll do is I'm going to blacken these a bit more and get some more black on the top. I thought it was interesting as far as the modeler went in weathering this, that how far they went in dirtying up the sides, that they didn't spend a lot of time making this black. And if you see photos of diesel engines that have been in use for any amount of time, especially Soo line engines, they're black from all the exhaust, the diesel exhaust. So I figure I'm going to keep working on this just to get it a bit more white, get it a little bit less dirty, because this is still just a bit too much. All right, so what I've learned obviously already, and as you can see from even this one side, is that a little bit of rubbing alcohol goes a long way in getting some of this dirt off. And I think even like on the back porch here, this is a bit much. So I just want to take off some of this. Anything that I would perhaps over clean, what I'll end up doing is just kind of touching up again, either with more powders that I'll come back with, or even an airbrush, because I intend to airbrush the grates on top. So there we go. That's a bit less filthy, perhaps a bit more realistic. I want to keep the grime down here. I think this is fantastic for road grime. I just think that up top here, everything that I've seen is just way lighter and way less dirty than that. So just trying to get it to be a little bit more prototypical. One thing I will say is that at least in doing it this way and backing it off, I'm going to get some areas that are really going to pop so far as details go, because the cotton swabs, the Q-tips aren't going to reach into some of those crevices. I'm not trying to reach into the crevices, because I figure that certainly is a place where dirt and grime is going to collect. can see the alcohol takes it off relatively easily. Allows me to get it far lighter in color than what originally appeared here. This side, even though I'd already started it before starting the video, was easily equally as dirty as you see down near the walkway. One thing I want to be careful of course, is I don't want to harm the decal. I've hit it with rubbing alcohol already. You can see it hasn't faded too badly, hasn't come apart in any way. So pretty happy with that. I think if it got a little bit lightened, that wouldn't bother me. You know, things obviously get sun faded. I'm just trying to get some of the dirt from the interior of these letters off the side of this locomotive. It's looking better. I got to work in down here. This is going to be a little bit more complex. I still want to lower this. From the photographs that I've seen, the grime is just not getting that high from the road dust and whatnot. I don't want to remove the handrails, so I'm just going to continue to work with a Q-tip down here. This provides me the best access. I'm trying to keep it angled. One thing I have seen in pictures up here is that the road dust really gathers near the front of the locomotives. Try to keep the Q-tips a little bit fresh. I'm not too worried about entirely fresh, because I have certainly found that the dirty Q-tip helps spread out some of the dirt and the grime and gives it almost like a bit of a wash, which I certainly like. Leaving it a bit dirtier anyway. One thing I may need to pick up in order to get some of these tighter areas are just some of the better craft style Q-tips that I've seen. This is certainly one of the upsides to weathering your rolling stock and your locomotives with powder, is that if you don't like it when you're done, you can certainly change it, which is a nice thing to be able to do. This is getting, to me, this is getting far more realistic. That's my eye, but once again, that's just the beauty of this whole hobby and endeavor, is that we get to do what's pleasing to our eyes. This will be running on my layout, my club layout, so the way it looks is most important to me. There we go. That's, I believe, far more realistic than that. There's used a tremendous amount of orange and reds way up high, and like I've said, I just have not seen that in photographs of the locomotives that I've been researching, especially the SD40s. And this is interesting. I think the clearly MTH, they just make an SD40-2 shell, and then they paint them in road colors, slap the decals on them, and sell them. Soo line did have a 765. The only thing, or the big difference being that Soo line's 765 did not have dynamic braking, so it did not have the dynamic braking venting on both sides here. So what I'm left with, I know that these get blackened up and pretty dusty as well. So while the locomotive is not entirely prototypical to the Soo line as far as the number goes, it's certainly prototypical to the SD40-2. Many had the dynamic braking. Just this whole housing unit was not a part of this road number for the Soo line. But that's okay. I can live with that being non-prototypical. Clearly I can't live with this weathering being overly done. So we'll just continue on with taking some of this off. Just gonna get a few cotton swab going here. Much of a rust of this guy. The only time I've seen these things, you know, tremendously rusty is when they're pretty much at the end of their life. Alrighty, I've done a little more work. I wanted to work this side some more. I thought it was a little bit too dark a gray, so I got a little bit more off here. This side's been a little bit more stubborn as far as getting some of the powders off. I also tried to make a little bit more streaking here. I noticed in some prototype photographs that there was some streaking. It's okay. I am happy with my roof streaking here over the cab. I think that was pretty good. And I'm pleased at least with the way some of these details pop. The latches are dark. See that in a lot of photographs. Very pleased with this side. I think it turned out better than the other. I know it's a bit dirty down here on the bottom still, and that's fine. I'm willing to live with that. I've seen some pictures where they were fairly dirty. I don't know if they were quite that dirty, but I'm okay with where it's at right now, and I'm not going to try to set this powder. I'm not putting any lacquer over the top of this. I'm just going to let it be. And so if I get tired of this level of dirtiness in the future, I'll take it off and try to reduce some of that dirtiness. I worked on the handrails a bit. A lot of the photographs I saw were that the handrails were still pretty darn white while the stanchions were dark. And that makes sense. You know, people are going to use handrails. That's just going to, you know, naturally wipe off grime and dirt and dust. The stanchions, on the other hand, were dirty. I see in pictures they're very dirty. What I did on a couple of these, and I wish I'd thought of it sooner, was that when I was cleaning off, you know, the body or the walkways here, which remain pretty dirty, I took the soaked Q-tip, not this one, I threw those away, and I kind of wrung it out. I pushed it on the stanchion and I wrung it out and I let it just kind of run down. And on these few right here, it turned out really well. I wish I'd thought of it sooner. I think that it would have been, the effect would have been good all the way across, because of pictures that I've seen, these things are pretty dirty, and makes sense. They're on the outside, right? They're catching a lot of dust, a lot of road grime. So the next step, anyway, so this side, like I said, I think is the better. I think that some of the white really came out better. The details are the same on the other side. This side was a bit more stubborn as far as getting the powder off. It didn't want to come off as easy, but I'm pretty happy with some of these back panels here. They got pretty white. It's a little bit dusty up in here, and that's okay. This is a bit lighter. Worked the handrails over here. Didn't think of the stanchion thing, you know, wringing out my dirty Q-tips on the stanchions until the other side. So these remain a little bit lighter. I don't know, maybe I can do something about that. I got some dirt down here on a walkway I could actually take up and try to wring out on a few of these stanchions like this one here, and make it a bit darker, make the detail pop a little bit. That'd be pretty cool. And I may do that, who knows. What I do know I'm going to do is I'm going to take my airbrush and I am going to blacken every single vent, certainly the smokestack area, and all of this. In every picture I've seen where I can see the top of the SD40 or even the sides, the vents are absolutely black. The tops are pretty darn black. You got black along here. It's grayed, you know, because of the overspill of all of the diesel smoke that just kind of blackens every vent. So I'll definitely be doing that. I will record that in just the next section of the video here after I get my airbrush and everything set up. I am a complete novice at airbrushing, but I figure a little black paint and an airbrush, I'll probably be able to get the job done. Just keep it close and go for it. But otherwise, so far, I gotta say, so good. I'm happy. I went a little further than I thought I was going to go. I just wanted to try a little bit harder, and I'm glad. I think it paid off over here once again. You know, the latches pop, which is cool because that's very consistent with photographs I've seen. So yeah, I'm pleased with the outcome so far. I think once I get everything blackened up, that'll probably be a finished product for me, and I'll be able to put this into use.